Hello guys, welcome to the Inspiration and Enlightenment Slow Talk. Yesterday I watched an interview of Eckhart Tolle by Russell Brand, which was very nice. I'll link this YouTube video and I will link to that in the comments. I enjoyed it very much, and it's like 1.5 hours Eckhart Tolle, or Eckhart Tolle in a nutshell. But when I listen to Eckhart Tolle or read something from him, when I'm done, I always get this question rises in my mind, and the question is something like, okay, I get it, Eckhart, but what now? I think there are two important buts here, and they compelled me to address them here. So Eckhart Tolle is really good at explaining the ego and the egoic awareness and what the problems and challenges are, and the alternative to ego awareness and ego thinking, which he calls the spatial consciousness. And I believe this is the first but, because this is a little misleading. Let me explain to you why. So, who are we? Where do we come from? And where are we going? The way I define it is we are, in a simple way, we are immortal souls, and we have, at the moment, planetary experiences. And our body-mind ego vehicle is the one we inhabit, the one we use, is basically our spacesuit that allows us to have experience in this, on the planetary level, as well as to act, to experience and to act. Now that's what we are at the moment. But where do we come from? We come from a union consciousness, and I believe that's what Eckhart Tolle means by spatial consciousness. It's a blissful, all-encompassing consciousness, or rather I would say it's awareness. And we came out of this consciousness, which you can also call paradise. We came out of paradise, the blissful union with other souls and life and the higher self, and maybe even the creator, if you will. And we came out of that and we started the journey of the soul, and we have many incarnations and many planetary experiences. So we move from this blissful union awareness into a separate self-conscious being. And this self-conscious being that we are right now, yes, it comes with many problems, and it's very limited, and it is definitely related to suffering, or it causes suffering. But it is here for a reason. Now, think about this for a moment. It has taken billions of souls, billions of years, painstaking effort to get to this stage. Homo sapiens, self-consciousness. It has taken billions of souls, billions of years, pain to get here. Now, where are we going? Are we going to this spatial consciousness? Will we drop our self-consciousness that we have acquired so painstakingly and then just return to the spatial consciousness? I don't believe so. Whatever we have now, whatever incomplete thing we are now, the self-consciousness we have now is to be taken to the next level and not just dropped or discarded. And that's the first but I want to raise here. And I I don't believe that Eckhart Tolle is saying this, but it comes a bit from I think it's a problem of taking Buddhist thought into Western philosophical rational rational mindset. Things get lost on the way. So if you get involved with Buddhism, yeah, that's like a thing you hear between the lines. Yeah, this losing of our self-consciousness, nirvana, going into nothing, going to space consciousness, which also sounds like nothing. And I believe this is a big misunderstanding. Yeah, so this is the first but. So again, we come as souls, we come from a blissful union, a paradise, where we felt one with everything and all the other souls. And planetary experiences compressed our consciousness to a self-aware being. And this self-awareness is the prerequisite for experience. If you don't have this nucleus of self-consciousness that sees things outside of itself and sees things happening to itself and remembers these different things happening to itself, you cannot have experience. And experience is, I don't believe it's the same thing as what Eckhart Tolle calls space consciousness or universal consciousness. Universal consciousness, I believe, is just awareness. It's like a floating, blissful, mindful, happy awareness. Experience means you have a consciousness, not just awareness, but consciousness. And consciousness knows how to make use of what it is aware of, how to make use of experience. Consciousness is coming from somewhere, and consciousness is going somewhere. Awareness just is. So if this is true, that we are self-consciousness in the making, yeah, we already came a long way, but obviously if you look at all the problems we are still facing, we are not there yet. So we are self-consciousness in the making. So if this is true, the most important questions are now, okay, how does the next level of self-awareness looks like? Yeah, how does the ego look like when we take him to the next level? And second, how to get there? What do we have to do to take the ego to the next level, or our self-consciousness? How do we take our self-consciousness to the next level? So this is the second but. There is no clear definition of the objective of enlightenment, and there is very little how to do it. Yeah. And the work that has to be done is actually fairly complicated. If, for example, you look at the Psychological Encyclopedia of Psychological Disorders, you will find that there are a few hundred of those. So that means that the ego, whatever it is, has a few hundred issues. And of course we're not really sure what issues we personally have. Maybe I have another 25 issues left, or somebody else has 10 or 50 or whatever. And of course we don't know after maybe we are just aware of 10 issues that we have. Yeah, we have some OCD or some depression or whatever. We don't know what lies behind that. So what happens after we fix the issues we are aware of? Will we discover other issues that were hiding behind those issues we were aware of? So we have no way of telling actually where we are. The only thing we know is that the ego is a complicated thing, and it has many, many hundreds of issues, and they all need to be addressed to take self-consciousness to the next level. So I want to give 3 allegories of the work that has to be done. That also shows how complicated the work actually is. It's not just sitting under a tree, relax and being mindful. No, there's actually hard work involved. And there's a lot of work, tedious work involved with many, many steps. So let me give you 3 examples, or 3 allegories. And the first allegory is the allegory of a house. So let's think about our body-mind vehicle as like a shack that nature somehow assembled. Yeah, branches, twigs, leaves, and it has some cover that covers us from the elements. And now we have to build a properly house out of that. Yeah, maybe wood walls, stone walls, door, windows, and maybe we even have to add a few things that nature cannot provide. For example, piping, plumbing, an electrical system, aircon, and TV, and all these things. So you can see it's a lot of work involved here. And this building allegory, the building of the house or the building of the temple, has been very nicely allegorized by Freemasonry. The other allegory is, let's think of our body and mind vehicle as a chemical factory, or a powerhouse chemical factory, a mix of that. And this factory produces various kinds of chemicals and energies. Now these energies are used to cater the basic needs, food, water, air, and entertainment, fun, and things like that. And many of these energies and the production of these energies and chemicals is very wasteful, it's not very economic, and some of these energies and chemicals produced are actually quite harmful for the factory, for the people working in there, and as well for the environment. So in this case, the work that needs to be done is to redesign the factories and starting to produce other kind of chemicals and energies. For example, love, happiness, purpose, sense of beauty, kindness, and all these things. The Enlightenment tradition that embodies this allegory is known as alchemy. The third allegory is the allegory of a clockwork. So imagine our body-mind ego vehicle is like a clock, and it's just working, half-ass working. Sometimes it runs too fast, sometimes too slow, makes strange noises, and sometimes even stops. So what we have to do is we have to repair and clean the mechanisms. And after we cleaned and repaired the clockwork, we can also activate hidden mechanisms within the clockwork. But for that we have to build new mechanisms. Like we need to build a missing gear or a missing spring, things like that, and we need to build that, and we need to place it in the mechanism of the clock, and then the clock will activate hidden capabilities. So mindfulness is a very important thing. Yeah, it's why? Because it pulls us out of the materialistic, hypnotic state of the ego is in right now, and it reveals to the ego that there are other things than just survival and fun, that there are other realities, that there are higher aspects of the self to be discovered, and that there is a work to be done. So the role of meditation, mindful meditation, and accessing the space consciousness, as Eckhart Tolle says, is to set a good mood for the work. Yeah. So we do the work, we enjoy life again, we enjoy the miraculosity of life, and we enjoy the miracle of the work we still have to do. And that's what the mindfulness, the Buddhist mindfulness does for us. It sets a good mood for the work, but it doesn't do the work. It doesn't do the work, and nobody tells us what work is actually to be done. So I believe what is needed is something that bridges enlightenment and the psychological needs of the people. Yeah. Somehow psychology and enlightenment needs to be bridged or combined. Why? Because if you only do enlightenment, you don't really help the people. You just describe to them what enlightenment is, but you don't take people from where they are to enlightenment. On the other hand, if you only do psychology, you get lost in the weeds. Yeah. Let's take depression, for example. Let's compare depression with, being stuck in a swamp. So it's cold, it's dirty, it's sticky, and you don't know how to get out of there. And if you consult a psychologist or therapist, they will help you. They say try to keep dry, try to keep clean. Let's talk about it, and try to help them to cope with the situation. But enlightenment, on the other hand, will do something else, something much more important. It will give the person the map. It says, look, here's the map. You're right now in this swamp, and over there is dry land, and on the dry land is a mountain, and in the mountain is a cave, and in that cave you can get enlightened. So enlightenment takes that poor guy and lifts him out of the swamp, instead of helping him to cope with the swamp. That's what a therapist would try to do. And if you just care about enlightenment, you will miss the technicalities of all the ego problems. Yeah. And you will be asked, okay, be mindful, meditate, but what about my OCD? It's not going away. How about my depression? It's not going away. I'm having an identity crisis. What shall I do? Meditate? So enlightenment alone does not help you to cope with all these many problems you face. It doesn't help you in the weeds, so to say. So that's missing, the bridging of enlightenment with psychology. And that's what I'm trying to achieve with the Inspiration and Enlightenment Workshop. Thank you for watching this episode of the Inspiration and Enlightenment Slow Talk. Please help spreading a light with a share and a like. And don't forget to subscribe. Love and light.